Hey, what is up everyone? Today we're taking a look at the high-grade Universal Century Nightingale. As usual, this video right here would not have been possible without those absolutely awesome people over at HobbyLink Japan. So if you want yourself one of these, or for any of your gunpla needs, check out that link down there in the description. Now let's check out this beast. So first off, you might be wondering what exactly the Nightingale right here is, and the easiest way to answer this, and also the dumbest way to answer this, is to say that it's essentially an alternate reality Sazabi. So basically this is from the novel version of Char's Counterattack, and is the mobile suit that Char Aznable has instead of the Sazabi. Basically it's like the High New Gundam is to the New Gundam. So yeah, the Nightingale is the novel version, Sazabi is the anime version. And just in case you want a little bit more information on the Nightingale itself, I'm just gonna read the blurb right here off the side of the box while we build this thing. So basically it says here the MSN-042 Nightingale was developed exclusively for Char Aznable, the leader of Neo Zeon. Its most prominent feature was the incorporation of a psycho frame. As a result, the Nightingale was completed as a mobile suit with capabilities akin to a mobile armor. The Nightingale was a mobile suit with exceptional abilities, and its silhouette greatly deviated from a human design. With overhanging binders on both shoulders, a large rear armor piece that extended backward, and front armor as large as the legs. Despite its unconventional design, mobility devices placed on the shoulders and rear armor enabled the mobile suit to gain high mobility and operability, and the 5 propellant tanks allowed for long combat operations. It was armed with a long-range, high-power large mega beam rifle, a beam tomahawk equipped with 3 devices, and 10 funnels. This armament configuration enabled the mobile suit to gain combat abilities that could flexibly adapt to firefights, melee combat, and perform all-range attacks. The Nightingale was deployed during Char's revolution and overwhelmed Amuro Ray's Regazi. It was as powerful as the Oryx 93 Nu 2 High New Gundam during the battle over Axis. When it comes to the model kit, the Nightingale got the high-grade treatment, while the upcoming High New Gundam is getting the real grade treatment. Now this beast right here, this could not be made in real grade. Well, first off, this came in a box as big as one of the original perfect grades. This is as big as the, well, at least the Strike Gundam's box. What we get in here is a whole host of parts that are absolutely huge, like this giant butt flap, which is large enough to be used as a helmet for my Spooky. And don't worry, he got paid well for that scene. But yeah, this is exactly what you would want from the build. It's got a lot of large parts, it all fits together very simply but very sturdily, and the model you get in the end is quite solid, it's huge, and honestly, it is somewhat better than I expected it to be. But anyway, let's check it out. So jumping right into the overview of absolutely everything that comes in this box, and as you'd expect, it comes with a lot of plastic in here, as well as the high-grade Nightingale itself. We've got that big ol' large mega beam rifle, the beam tomahawk. As well as the beam tomahawk, we've got a bunch of alternate beam effect parts that we would have seen before with the high-grade Sinanju. We've got 4 different beam sabers, and then we've got 4 alternate hands. That's the 3 you can see here, and 1 more that's attached onto the large mega beam rifle. That does come off. I just find it handier to leave it on there. Handier, you get it? Whoa! Anyway, let's check out the high-grade Nightingale itself, and let's check out those aesthetics. So I'm just gonna jump right into what everyone wants to see straight away. How big is it? So here it is side by side with the high-grade Granddaddy Revive, side by side with the novel version of Amuro's suit, which is the High New Gundam. That's the high grade. And there it is next to its alternate dimension brother, the Sazabi. Now, from the front, this has a very similar amount of bulk to the Nightingale besides those big old shoulder binder thingamabobs, but you have to flip it around to the side to just see how much ass this mobile suit right here has compared to the Sazabi. It's all back to front mass in here. If we're looking at the real grade Sazabi, we might as well be looking at the real grade New Gundam as well. This one has the double fin funnel second wing attached, side by side with another 1/44th scale Universal Century heavy hitter. That is the real grade Zeong. And just to show just how absolutely huge this is, there it is side by side with the master grade Sazabi Verka. And somebody asked me, And I'm not sure if you wanted to see the Nightingale's shield beside the Master Grade Sazabi shield or beside the real Grade Sazabi shield, but this Nightingale shield is pretty much as big as the Master Grade shield. This thing's huge. And someone's going to ask about this, but I must have just forgot to attach this on. It fell off there a second ago. It's not lost, don't worry. It's just a, well, bit of a pain in the bottom. So anyway, jumping right on into the actual aesthetics on this, and I have to say, I am definitely impressed. This is definitely a kit that's going hard on the size, the curves, and just the overall wow factor. There it is up on the shelf straight away for that shelf presence test, and this thing will stand out in any collection. Especially if you're rocking a high grade collection, this is going to be one of the biggest, most prominent kits in there unless you've got some serious mobile armors. And there it is beside a serious mobile armor. This is a kit that has some real serious crustacean style curves and a whole lot of extra stuff to look at as well. Plastic wise, we've got quite a few colors in here. We've got white, grey, red of course, and we've got some nice yellow for in the thrusters and all that other kind of jazz. For the most part, this is a heavily undergated kit, especially when it comes to the red armor, so knobs aren't an issue whatsoever, as well as the potential to paint the armor on the runners. And as for the nubs that are present, this was my first time ever trying some of Gun Primer's tools, and I have to say I'm very impressed, and we'll be doing a video about those sometime in the future. These things are crazy good. I mean seriously, I've seen them around and thought they'd be okay, but they're really good. And as for the tools that I did use during this build, it was the usual. That is the Bandai's build-up nipper to cut the parts off the runners. I used the God Hand to chop off the little bit of a nub that was left over. I used Gun Primer's Racer to get rid of all of the nubs. And I panel lined it using the Fill style panel liner markers, as well as the standard style panel liner Gundam marker for some of the other parts because it's quicker. As for the stickers, the color correcting stickers in here aren't so bad. The biggest offenders are the big old yellow ones that you can see right here on the sheet. These are for inside some of the thrusters around on the back. If you put these on right, they're next to not noticeable whatsoever, so definitely a subtle use of stickers right there. The little black ones, which are number 5, are actually so subtle I forgot where they were. They're actually inside the center of those thrusters in there. Just the black center, that's all. It'd be yellow if you did not use them. 1 and 2 are just your standard sort of lens type shiny greens. One is in the mono eye, the other is on the front of the rifle. Number 8 there, which I did not use, is for popping into the inside of these vents here on the chest. I just panel lined them instead. And as well as the color correcting stickers, we also have some sticker style decals, and these are pretty good. Usually I don't like sticker style decals, but they cut these quite close to the actual design, so they don't really look too bad. We've got that Neo Zeon logo right in the chest, not looking too bad again. All of the other decals on here look pretty good as well, but I will mention compared to the original art, this one and this one right here are white instead of yellow, which is an odd choice to make, but honestly, I think it looks pretty cool and makes the Xeon logo pop a little better. Like I mentioned already, these are all cut pretty tight to the design, so look not too bad. And we also have a big old Neo Xeon logo for on the shield as well, but I kind of screwed this up in the middle ever so slightly. As for the details on this kit, a lot of it can look kind of plain if you do not have it panel lined. A lot of red plastic all over the place, but it is broken up quite nicely with some nice plastic layering. For example, on the front skirting, we've got the grey, white, then the red on those vents and thrusters. Up around the neck and main body, which looks phenomenal. All those curves look absolutely mind-bendingly awesome, but we do have some nice plastic layering of those grey parts coming through the armor, which gives a nice dimension. We've got some nice color separation in the chest. We've got the Vulcan cannons just above the large abdominal mega particle cannon, all looking great. The head on this looks phenomenal. There's so much going on here. It's almost alien looking. And it really gives this kit, like it says in the manual and the blurb, a very non-humanoid look. If you love thrusters, you will love the Nightingale. They are everywhere. 9 under each binder. We've got 4 under the butt flap. We've got 6 all around the butt flap, 3 on the back as well as 3 propellant tanks. And speaking of propellant tanks, we've got 2 under the butt flap. The feet look cool and huge. Underside is nicely detailed, which is always a plus. And of course, everyone's favorite aspect about this kit, especially on Twitter and Instagram, is it's got a massive well. Its front skirting armor and front waist armor kinda just look like a, well, you know, a meat and 2 veg. But yeah, let's give it a spin. So anyway, there's the Nightingale and that full 360-degree spin, so you can see absolutely every angle yourself and maybe anything I may have forgotten to mention. I'll also throw up the original art on the right so you can compare and contrast yourself. Honestly, there's nothing I can complain about here. It does look pretty much identical. Of course, as is usually the case when something goes from art to the model kit, it tends to lose some of the stylistic elements, but for the most part it is all here, and it looks so good. There is nothing that looks like the Nightingale. It's so over the top, I'm surprised it actually gets model kits. And in case you're wondering, I do not actually have the Reborn 100. I have no idea why. I probably should get around to getting it because that thing must be absolutely huge. But yeah, this is huge, looks awesome, and I guess there really isn't much else to say. Let's check out the accessories. So now jump back to the beginning of the video, and there is absolutely everything that comes in this kit, so let's take a look at the accessories one by one. So as for the manipulators in here, the first set of hands we have is the pair of fists that have been attached the whole way through. These have a decent sculpt, and you know they can be used just in case your Nightingale is up for a round of fisticuffs. Next up then here we've got a single left hand, which is a kind of widespread relaxed hand. This can be used for dynamic poses or for supporting the rifle. And as for attaching and detaching and reattaching the hands, these are simple ball joints, so they just pull off and attach on like so. So next up, when it comes to the hands, we've got a pair of holding style hands. Once again, these attach the same, and as for what they hold on to, that is the 4 beam sabers that are included, 2 with standard beams and 2 with some Sinanju beams. And you might be like, well, 4 beam sabers, it's only got 2 arms. Well, these red Char colored gonads aren't just for show. We also got a pair of sub arms underneath these, which is incredible. These fold out, can hold on to the extra pair of beam sabers. They hold on quite well, they're quite solid, and they can pull off pretty much whatever pose you'd want out of them. These are cool. I will mention these lock down here at the bottom to keep them in position while you're using them, but if they're anywhere in the middle they are loose, so they will move around on you. And when you're storing them, they actually fold on up and attach into this little segment up top like this, so they don't fall out. These are pretty cool. Actually, these are really cool. When these are not in use, you can pull out the beam blades like so, and as far as I can see from the instructions, there's nowhere to store the ones that are held in the hands when they are not attached into the hands, but as for the ones that were on the sub-arms, they can stay attached to the sub-arms and be hidden away underneath here. If that wasn't enough close quarters ass whoopage, we also have the Beam Tomahawk. Now this has this very vigorous effect part, which is new for this kit, but I'll also mention that this slots into the same hands as the beam sabers, but just kind of hangs out here. It doesn't really get held that well, it's just kind of hanging around. It's not going to fall out either. It's very weird. It's just rattling around the hand, but refuses to fall out, so I guess that's a good thing. We do have options in here, that is that big cool Unibeam, or we have these 2 flatter, less vigorous beams that we would have seen with the Sinanju. And speaking of the Sinanju, we also have these longer beams which aren't technically for using with this kit, but you can use them if you want to, because they are, well, on the runners and they fit. Changing out the parts is pretty simple. It's just pop out the parts that you don't want and pop in the ones that you do. And actually, while I'm looking at this right now, I'm assuming that this right here can also work with these beams. Well, not too loose. It kind of works, but it's a bit floppy and droppy off to the side, unlike that. So now onto the long range weapon we have in here, and that of course is the large Mega Beam Rifle. What it says in the instructions about this is it's a large firearm with a total length of approximately 30 meters that could emit beams as powerful as Mega Bazooka launchers. It was able to separately fire focused and diffused beams, and the diffused beams resemble scatter shot rounds seen in shotguns and could also be fired rapidly. The weapon could also be used in launcher mode by unfolding the bipod and connecting it to an external energy source. Attaching this is very simple. It's a ball joint attachment yet again, but it does have a bit of an angle to the attachment point, which makes it a whole lot easier for the Nightingale to equip. So we'll mention this is a large rifle attaching to a very bulky mobile suit, so it can kind of clash with the armor a little bit, but you can get what you want out of it. And this is a rock solid kit, so it has no issue whatsoever holding it up. Just like the instruction says, there is a bipod up front. It can flip down like so and spread out just like this. Pretty cool rifle. Last up in here then is the shield, and like we've seen already, this is absolutely huge in matching colors to the Nightingale right here. That is black, white, and red. Gray then around on the other side. And we do have this adapter segment which attaches into the arm. And as usual with gunpla, this has 2 choices to either mount it on the side of the arm or on the rear of the arm. This adapter attaches into the rear of the forearm like this, and then you can choose which ball to stick the shield onto, and I'll mention that this, just like the rest of the kit, is very solid and holds on very well. So like I mentioned earlier on, we would be seeing that beam tomahawk again and again is right now. So in usual Char mobile suit fashion, this can attach onto the inside of the shield, so just like the Sazabi, and I guess like the Sinanju too. But unlike those mobile suits, you're not actually able to, well you are, but you're not really able to attach the beams on as well. So you're kind of jamming these in, they don't really fit, it's kind of bending out of shape a little bit. So if you want to, really want to, you can jam in the beam effects for this cool beam shield, but again, it doesn't really fit, but you can do it. So finally on to the last part of the video, and that is the articulation. And first off, I'll mention this thing is as solid as a rock besides the side skirts. They might pop off every now and then, but that's more of, well, that's Archimedes' fault, not necessarily the model kit. It's a small ball, they're very long, easy to knock off. So first off, I'm very happy to say it's got a giggity goo. Yeah, the head opens up as well like that. I've done that a few times already, but it's got a really good giggity goo. So that means we do have a ball joint up top and a hinge down below, giving you a whole load of great articulation. Inside that opening up head, we also have a spinning mono eye. It can look right and left, which is very cool and dynamic. Just don't try to spin the flat bit up top. That works with some kits. That's actually how this stays closed. Be careful. These shoulder armor sections can move up like so they can only move up and down to this point. They lock then, they cannot go any further. So once again, up and down. Attaching the shoulder into the torso is a swinging forward mechanism like so we got a bit of forward and back of the shoulder. Inside of that then is a peg that gives you the full 360-degree spin when armors aren't clashing. Just below that then we've got another hinge which allows it to move in and out or up and down depending on the way that it is facing, and combined with that little bit of motion in the shoulder, this can actually bring its arms in very well. A lot. At the elbow then we get a whole lot out of this, so we've got 2 points of rotation, one above the elbow and one below the elbow, and then a nice double bend at the elbow. One of the bends is in the forearm and one is the actual elbow. So all this combined does give us a whole lot of almost snake-like movement at the elbow. So once again, these are simple joints, just working perfectly in unison. When we get down to the wrist then, it's just a standard ball joint. These big old lobster-esque looking binders are phenomenal. We've got a whole lot going on here, which is some hinges and some rotations. So if we actually take a look from the back, it's a little clearer. We've got rotation in the actual body itself. We've got rotation then inside of the big old binder. Then we have a little bit of tilt forward and back inside the main body, and then we've got a big massive hinge in the binder, so these can actually flip all the way out and back. So these can actually flip all the way back and out of the way, so we get a more compact looking Nightingale right here. This is nice, once again very solid too. Propellant tanks on the back, these are attached via ball joints, which makes them quite expressive while still robustly held on there. I'm absolutely shocked and delighted to mention that the Nightingale does have an ab crunch. I did not expect this. So it can move forward and back here at the ab crunch zone, and this is also an extremely strong joint, so it's not going to drop backwards, even with some abuse. I'm not sure how this will, well, be affected by time, but as of right now, beautiful. We've got quite this spin at the waist. It's not the full 360 degrees around, it gets a little bit blocked in its own butt, but seriously, who can complain with that? So I'm going to do something right now that is mainly just out of my own curiosity, and that's I'm going to pull off a bunch of parts to kind of get it down to almost, well, Sazabi size and look. That's popping off the binders as well as the butt. I will mention the butt doesn't actually have any sort of articulation itself. It doesn't move up, down, left or right or anything like that. The propellant tanks down below, these can unlock out of place and then move around with some hinges and more hinges. And underneath there we also have this cool little sub leg that helps it to stand up once it's landed. I guess that makes it a landing gear of sorts. We've got a pivot at the ankle on that, and you can actually detach it like so, and then reattach it in like this. So it's out of the way. That little peg is actually for using with an action base, and this is pretty cool. So if you've ever wondered what Nightingale would look like if it was a little more Sazabi-like, a little more normal humanoid mobile suit-like, well, it would be kind of like this right here, I guess. I'm actually going to pop off the propellant tanks as well, so there's nothing really in the way to check out the rest of the articulation. So first up we got the old crotch armor up front, and this can all move up and down ever so slightly and comically like so. The front skirting armors can swing up out of the way, these are on ball joints. The side skirting armors, the parts that are the most prone to falling off, when they're not falling off they can move up and down ever so slightly as well as rotate forward and back ever so slightly. So inside the waist here, there is no special anything going on at the hips. There is no dropping mechanisms, anything like that. It's just a simple peg, which is good for stability. Anyway, we get the kick all the way up to the front, which isn't too bad. Out to the back, of course, this would be blocked by the big old butt flap, and as for the splits, this is all we get. But this is a lot for such a big, thick old boy. Not too bad. Next up then is the knee bend, and again, impressive for something so thick. And as for the stuff that's on the joints for protection, whatever kind of material this is to stop space debris going in there and ruining the, mechanics, I can't really get past the point that this looks like a pair of trousers to me. Like, this is a dude in cosplay, cosplaying a mobile suit. And it's just like what he's wearing underneath. Especially the knee, I kinda can't get over that. I can't unsee it. We've got a bit of an armor flappy up front on the shin. We've got these cool little side parts to the feet that actually move up and down like this. This is a nice touch. The toe can move up and down as well, and I'm gonna pop off the leg today to check out that movement of the ankle on the ground because this is bulky, it might get in the way. So there we've got front and back, which isn't too bad, especially to the back, and the side to side, as you'd expect, is a little bit limited. So yeah, when it comes to articulation, I feel like it's one of those situations where the overall articulation is less than the sum of its parts. We've got a lot going on in here, but what you get in the end when you try to pose it is not a whole lot. But this is a monolithic kit. The parts that you want to move that are very expressive, like the binders, the feet, the arms, these do a lot of moving, so in the air you're going to get a lot of poses out of it. But if you want to get it in the air, you need 2 action bases, not just the 1. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and I won't lie, this is my 4th time trying to do the verdict on this kit. I am absolutely stumped. This is a fantastic kit. It's essentially perfect. It's solid as a rock, looks fantastic, nothing really falls off but the side skirts, and it just is an absolute high-grade centerpiece. That is all the good stuff, and what makes me want to rank this as high as I can. On the other side of the coin though is the price. This is 7,500 yen, which is the price of 4 or 5 average high grades, and you could get 4 or 5 fantastic high grades for the price. At the same time, the Sazabi, the real grade Sazabi that is, you could almost buy 2 of them for the price of this, and is this worth 2 Sazabis? I don't think so. Well, I know so. It doesn't. It ain't. It's not. Is this worth essentially a real grade new Gundam and a real grade Sazabi together? It's pretty much the same price? I think not. And at the same time, you could throw another 600 yen into the pool, and you've got yourself the Reborn 100 Nightingale. But then again, that kit, I'm not sure if that's worth it at all. So yeah, super hard to rank. I think we've got a little bit of unpopular mobile suit tax on this particular mobile suit. That makes it a little more expensive than what it feels like that you get. So what I'm trying to say is, this is a very good kit, but it is a little hard to recommend. But if you get past the price, and based on other kits I have reviewed in the past, yeah, screw it, it's Gundarium tier, what can I say? It's essentially an unmissable build. In a way I feel like it isn't, and in a way I feel like it is. If I go with my gut, and I'm gonna go with my gut, this, to me, is Gundarium tier. Sure, some people might like a little bit more detail on it, but some people might love it the way that it is. It's solid, big, and awesome. What can I say? Totally worth it if you can get your hands on one. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. If you want one of your own, link down there in the description. And as always, I will see you next time. As always, thank you so much for watching. These videos would not be possible without you guys watching these videos, so thank you once again. And special thanks, of course, to those of you who are supporting me on Patreon and over on the channel memberships, including Van Fawn, Tyler Sanders, Sean T, Mr. Winter, Lauren Seahack, Joseph Kukluk, Global Frequency Studios, Caleb Engelhart, Bakito Official, and Craig Jerry. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot, I might as well say it now. The funnels all come off. I absolutely, completely, and utterly forgot. Come on. Get up. Yeah, there. See, they fly away. Woo! However, they don't seem to have a normal peg adapter bit in the back, which would have been handy. But hey, they do come off, which is pretty cool.